Are you ready?
This is Radical TV and we're here at Donington Park for the penultimate round of the Dunlop Radical UK Cup 2011. Ross Kaiser, Terence Woodward and Roger Bromley and Sean Balfe are in the top three of the grid here today, so there looks to be some fierce competition from the start to see who can clinch that title. Roger, you've had a really successful season so far, leading the series as we speak, and you qualified 4th and 2nd respectively for today's races. So what's next for you?
Good grief. It's, people are saying to me, you've got a good lead in the championship, isn't that great? And I'm thinking, yeah, it's ours to lose. And I prefer to be in the lead, but it just feels like loads of pressure at the moment. So what I'm trying to do is focus just on this immediate race and just go, what we need to do is get consistent good finishes, and if we can convert some of those to victories, better still,
And what's the strategy with you and Sean today?
I'm racing the first race, so I start the first race, he jumps in halfway, and then he starts the second. To be honest with you, I think Sean will do the bulk of the driving. I've been in a bit of pain with a bit of neck problems, so we'll have to see how that goes. Hopefully minimise my amount of time in the car and maximise Sean.
And is there anyone out there today on the grid that you're particularly worried about?
Yeah. Every other car. Yeah. Oh, that was interesting. Every other car, but mostly Terence and Manhole, who are kind of just chasing us. They're nipping away at our tails. So just need to make sure that we at least within a place of them. We're preferably ahead, of course, but they're both good drivers and they're doing well. So they're worse yet, they start in front of me on the racetrack. So got a bit of work to do with them.
Ross, you've had a really successful season so far, haven't you? And you're in pole and 2nd for the 2 races here today. So what are you hoping to achieve?
We're on the back foot a little bit. We're not leading the championship, so it's been going pretty well, but obviously we need to get back up the front. So ideally we need to have a couple of wins and a couple of fastest laps. That's what we're looking for.
And who's out there first today?
Terence is starting today. He's starting the first race. He qualified 2nd, 800ths off pole, so it was pretty tight qualifying. So hopefully he'll have a good stint, and then I'll be in for the 2nd stint. But we've got 5 seconds longer on the stop than most of the others, so that's going to level it up a bit. So it should be a close race.
And how have your changeovers been going?
Pretty good, yeah. Like I say, with the extra 5 seconds, that's a bit extra time to obviously get the belts done and get settled. So it's a time stop, so as long as there's no mishaps or any problems with the belts, we should be able to get in and get changed without any problems, ready for the time to tick down and get back out.
And over the course of the season, who have been the main worries for you, the main competitors?
We've always got the Radical Works boys, Roger Bromley and Sean Balfe. They're obviously always really competitive, and they've done the UK Championship for a few years now, so they're probably our main rivals. We've got Manhal Alos as well, who's pretty rapid now as well. So it's tight. And then obviously when we do the European round, some of them are combined with the UK, so we get all the European drivers as well. So that's pretty competitive.
James, you qualified 4th and 13th for the 2 races here today in the UK Cup. It's quite a big gap between those.
Yeah, 13's a bit of kind of a lucky number, but it wasn't the best sessions, but hopefully look to move forward on that.
Okay, and who are you looking to beat out there today?
Well, I was thinking before we got here the Fergusons, but they're looking fairly quick, so it's always Smithson and Mosley or Thorburn and Weldon. They're normally around my pace. Obviously Rob and Stuart are a big chunk quicker, and then I'm closer to David and Mark, so it just depends what happens.
And you're racing solo today as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm all on my own, so it's a bit easier to get on the pace again after the pit stop. I don't think the pros will have any problem with that though.
And what made you decide to race by yourself today?
My teammate went on holiday.
So Phil, Radical's branching out even more globally. Can you tell us about the new Indian series?
Well, we're supporting this brilliant new initiative by Magdar Motorsports, which is the I1 Super Series, which starts in India in December, runs through to February in that region, across Abu Dhabi, Singapore, Malaysia. So there's lots of dates through the winter there, yeah.
And it's an area where motorsport is expanding quite rapidly as well, isn't it?
Very much so. I mean, there's two Indian F1 drivers there or thereabouts at the moment. Been in the F1 grid, Narain Karthikeyan and Karan Chandok. And there's many more great talents in India that the I1 Super Series will be supporting.
And what exactly is Radical supplying to the series?
Cars, basically. The series is run on SR3 RS cars, and we'll be supplying the cars and the support for the series.
Brilliant. Okay, and do you think that we'll be seeing any of our drivers out there at some point?
There may well be. Each team buys a franchise of 2 cars, and so there's 9 teams supporting or representing 9 cities in India, and there's a space for a star and an Indian star in each team, so it should be really good.
And what does it mean for Radical as a whole?
Oh, just incredible expansion into that market, really. 30 to 40 cars being supplied in that area is just fantastic.
Jeremy, you've been racing with Radical for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
What brought you back to the UK series?
I raced in the Portuguese series in 2006, and it's good, but I miss the home circuits. I live overseas now, so it's nice to come back to the UK. Despite the weather, I do like it here in the circuit. So it was just a familiarity. My brother was racing in the series, so I decided to come back to something I was familiar with. And there we go. I mean, I've been here now, so the last 4 years now I've been racing in the UK, so it's a pain commuting, but it's worth it when we get here.
And you have a brand new car as well, don't you, for this race? So how's it running so far?
Yeah, really good. I took delivery on Thursday when I got here, so I saw it Thursday morning for the first time, and I think within the first 2 sessions I'd been quickest. And I did a 7.3 really quickly, and I just loved it from the second I sat in it. So even the seat fitted without having to do anything to it, so it was really good. The car's running beautifully. I took pole in race 1, and I've got second in race 2, which I lost by a 10th, so I'm quite
amazing. So and usually you race with your brother as well, but today you're flying solo, is that right?
Yeah, we're in direct competition today, so he's got the other car, so we'll see how it goes. I've qualified quite well ahead of him, but you can never say never with him, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're not at home together like we were when we were children. We were racing against each other, so Sunday lunch might be a bit more amicable.
So who's your money on then?
Me. Yeah, definitely.
Mark and James, you've been racing together for a while, haven't you?
We've been racing against each other for a while, yeah. Well, this year, we both raced Caterhams this year, so yeah, we've been battling away.
And is this the first time you've ever raced in a Radical?
Yeah, second time ever in a Radical. So.
And have you had much time to practice?
I got about 6 laps at the test day, so no. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
And how are you feeling about your qualifying positions?
Not too good, actually, yeah. I mean, the test day wasn't too bad time-wise. We had a bit of a couple of issues yesterday. I think some of it self-inflicted, a bit come off the car, so it was quite hard. But like James, we're ready to get stuck into the race.
Okay. And have the issues been sorted out now?
Yeah, we lost the rear diffuser, so poor old Mark didn't realise and was trying to put quality times in, and it was tough, but he actually put a good time in considering, so hope we can do better today.
And what made you want to come and race with Radical?
I think our Caterham race, we were supposed to race here last week and it was cancelled, so we had some free time and we just thought we'd try something different, and a good chance to do the two driver thing and race with each other instead of against each other.
And who's out on the track first today?
I'm out first.
Okay. And what are your hopes about how many places do you think we can make up today?
I don't want to be last. I want to get. I'll make a couple of places to be good if I can finish. Leave the car with Mark in sort of 12th or something. I'd be delighted.
Phil, right up here at the front of the grid in pole, how are you feeling before the race?
I've just noticed my 17-year-old son has led more laps than I have.
Oh dear, well best of luck for today then. We're here at the front of the grid once again for the 7th and penultimate round of the Dunlop Radical UK Cup. Really exciting stuff. They're getting ready to blast off, so let's get off the track.
So away we go on the formation lap with Phil Abbott and Terence Woodward on the front row of the grid. It was a great qualifying performance yesterday from Phil Abbott to give him pole position in the dying stages of qualifiers. The field head out. We've lost one of them. It's Manhal Alos, who unfortunately won't be taking start of the race. So Alos, a non-starter. The rest of them now forming up side by side. It's a rolling start as ever in the Dunlop Radical UK Cup. So it's up to Phil Abbott to pace the field through. He's got Terence Woodward alongside him. This is going to be electrifying into Redgate for the first time as they come out of Goddard. The race about to get underway. Let's see who's going to get the jump early on. as the field still crawl along the start finish straight until the red lights go out, and then we'll be racing. They go out now. Here we go. It's a brilliant start from Phil Abbott, who moves into immediate lead of the race here with Terence Woodward there in second. It's Roger Bromley who's going to turn through in third, and Jeremy Ferguson up in fourth place and leading the Super Sports class as well. Everybody would appear to be more or less cleanly through the gate for the first time to then plunge down through the crane of curves, and Phil Abbott trying to build an early advantage here over Terence Woodward and Roger Bromley as well, which has never been discounted. So these three will probably be the main protagonists and head the field, at least in the early stage of the race. As ever, it's the Super Sport class, the SR3s, which is so keenly contested. We have some very, very evenly matched drivers in that class. It's provided us with some great action throughout the course of the season. Well, Phil Abbott holds on for 2 more corners, and that's at least one more radical lap that he's led to bring the tally back down to somewhere near the level that his son James has attained already. There's Jeremy Ferguson coming under a little bit of pressure there from Mark Smithson. That's at the back of the shot. That's to lead the Super Sport class, as the 3 leading SR8s in the Masters class are the leading 3 cars in the race overall. So it is Phil Abbott from Terence Woodward, then Roger Bromley, then that gap back to Jeremy Ferguson and Mark Smithson enjoying their scrap as the field stream through to complete the first lap of the race. Now, wherever you look, there is plenty of action underway on the circuit. Tony Wells is also well up. He is currently there, 6th in the race overall, 3rd in the Super Sports class, and he's got James Birch on his tail. And Birch goes the move, goes through and goes up into 6th place in the race overall. James Birch, who only came into Radical Racing midway through this season, rather, as a present from his father for having completed his degree at Durham University. He got a 2-1 in case you're interested, and is now off travelling to Australia at the end of the season. But for now, he'll be fully focused on trying to close that gap down to Mark Smithson and Jeremy Ferguson ahead of him. So we've got the 3 leaders as they were. Then this Super Sport battle, it's for 4th in the race overall, and there is Jeremy Ferguson with right on his tail Mark Smithson, and then it's James Birch who's the next man up. And then another scrap going on as Tony Wells having to go on the defensive once more, as Phil Abbott is beginning to build out a nice advantage here over Terence Woodward. Roger Bromley can't quite stay with the leading duo, but is running at a very comfortable pace as we are beginning to move the midway point of this race, which means the pit window will be open and we will be having that mandatory pit stop, where we'll be, in most cases, changing to the second driver, and Terence Woodward will be handing over to the very rapid Ross Kaiser. So Terence Woodward knows that if he can keep Phil Abbott in sight, then that could just be enough to give Ross Kaiser the advantage. That said, Roger Green, who's going to be taking over from Phil Abbott, is no slouch either, and so Phil is looking to give Roger the best possible platform that he can when he takes over, as James Abbott is making good progress up through the order. He's gone past Tony Wells and he's now homing in on the tail here of James Birch. So 2 of the younger drivers within the field, both young chargers, and currently fighting for 3rd in the Super Sports class, 6th place in the race overall, as they turn through the old hairpin. James Abbott, he's had a very successful weekend already, winning both of the Clubman's Cup races yesterday. Well, wherever you look, there's good battles going on. That's Graham Ridgway, and he has got just on his tail as well the very quick Timothy Lyons. So Timothy Lyons looking to try and find his way past Graham Ridgway. Can't quite do it at the moment. Ridgway, nice new car for this weekend, and you certainly won't miss that green colour. Very striking, but looks absolutely fantastic, immaculately presented, as still the battles continue throughout the field. That's Andrew Ferguson, who is trying to build an advantage there over James McLaughlin, as it's Andrew's brother Jeremy who remains in the lead of the Super Sports class here. So Jeremy Ferguson, this has been an absolutely super weekend for him, as the pit window is open. This is when things are going to start to become very entertaining indeed, as Sean Balfe getting his helmet on, preparing to take over from Roger Bromley. Of course, Andrew Ferguson there in the fully one car, he won't be handing over, but James will be handing over to Mark Shaw, as Ferguson runs a little bit wide. He kicks up a dust plume. It's a bumpy ride. He loses that 1 position to McLaughlin, but no more. Sean Balfe is poised in the pit lane, ready to take over from Roger Bromley. Right, who is going to peel in early on? Well, I suspect Terence Woodward might be an early pitter, because Ross Kaiser, who'll be taking over from, is pretty quick. Same goes for Timothy Lyons. He'll hand over to Anthony Dunn. Again, Anthony Dunn, a rapid driver. So the pit window is open, and now the pits start to get very busy. David Thornburn comes in to hand over to Rob Weldon. Now Rob always goes well. Here comes Roger Bromley. Out of the car almost before it's come to a halt. Sean Balfe clambers into the cockpit. So Sean Balfe, the former British 24-hour winner, vastly experienced, very successful racer as well in GTs. He gets in. Anthony Dunn into the cockpit as well. There is Mark Smithson in the black and blue car. He'll hand over to the yellow helmeted Stuart Mosley as Mark Shaw gets strapped in, almost the entire field in the pit lane, as the drivers head out of the pits, and the pit stop length is based on the driver grading here, which means we may see the order rather turn its head here as the drivers come out from the pits. So the first man to emerge is Rob Weldon, but he's got Ross Kaiser immediately on his tail, and then we've got Sean Balfe and then Roger Green. So the car that led into the pit stops, that of Phil Abbott and Roger Green, has come out third in the Masters class behind Ross Kaiser, who is moving in to lead the race there. Second in the Masters class is Sean Balfe, and then third in the Masters class there is Roger Green. So unfortunately Phil Abbott and Roger Green rather losing out here in the pit stops, as Anthony Dunn takes the circuit, being followed by Bradley Ellis. He's the next man through in the number 6 car as we return to the head of the race, and it is Ross Kaiser who is in the lead and is going to be looking to build as big an advantage as he can as quickly as possible now that he's out there getting himself warmed up. But the car's been nicely warmed up by Terence Woodward, so Kaiser tries to build the advantage as Mark Shaw exits still what is a very busy pit lane. Weldon making good progress, but I fear that he is going to be demoted fairly shortly by the hard-charging Sean Balfe. And Weldon, though, he'll be looking to score a good result this weekend in the Supersports class, as the race leader Ross Kaiser continues to build his advantage at the head of the field as he accelerates down the corner curves, down the pit lane. Lucia has found several drivers.
Roger, you managed to keep up a fantastic pace throughout that race.
It was hard work out there, I'll tell you. I mean, what Phil Abbott is on, I think he's had some kind of go-go juice, but I mean, really, the man's on fire. It's great to watch, and unfortunately, I was a distant passenger. But look, we had to, carry on the race. We had to be in there, and I think bringing in P3 is a great result, really, so far. And who knows what will happen next? We've been here before, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, Phil looked a bit like he was just miles away from anybody else.
Phil is a genius. For years he and I have had great, we've raced together and we've had great times together. Why he never raced like that when he was with me, I've no idea, but it's great to see.
So you managed to keep up a fantastic pace throughout the first part of that race.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, car's good. I was just sort of matching Phil in front. Thought Phil was doing well. I expected to catch him, to be honest, so I think he was driving really well. Missed him to go round in procession,
Yeah. And you guys have managed to overtake during the pit lane changeover, haven't you?
Apparently, yeah. I don't know if Phil had a slow in-lap, because I was a few seconds behind him, and then when I came into the pit lane I was right behind him, so I don't know if he got held up in the traffic or what, but yeah, I think we managed to jump them in the pits.
And what's your position out there at the minute? How's Ross doing?
Ross is in the lead. I think he's just put the fastest lap in, so at the moment all good. Just hope the car holds together and we come across the line first.
James, how was your first time out in a Radical?
Better than I thought. It's good. Really enjoyed it.
And did you manage to make up a few places as well?
Yeah, I think I made about 4 or 5 places. I think it was good. Really enjoyable.
Brilliant. And what was the most challenging part of being out there at Donington here today?
It's totally different than what I'm used to driving, and aero is something that I'm not familiar with, and I've had to learn pretty quickly. So it's trusting how late you can brake and how fast you can corner, and I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there.
Timothy, how did that go the first half of the race? You were out there first.
Well, I got off to a reasonable start, was catching up a little bit on the guys in front, and then managed to go off in the gravel at Redgate for a while, so lost a little bit of time there. Anthony, my co-driver, seems to be picking up the pace now and getting us back where we should be, so hopefully we'll finish with a reasonable result and try and do a little better in the next race.
And what position are you in at the moment?
I think we're running 10th. We should be higher than that, but we've obviously lost a little bit of time. I lost a little bit of time, so yeah.
So Graham, as your first time out there with the UK Cup, how did it go?
It was very exciting. Nothing went badly wrong, so that's a pretty good start. Had a good race. The start was okay, and followed Jonathan around for quite a few laps, and he was just getting a little bit away, but had someone to focus on and keep up to. So that was really good.
Brilliant. And what did you find were the main challenges out there?
Well, there's a lot to think about, and so every time you start thinking about what's to come, like the pit stops, your concentration goes. So you've got to remember that you're out there driving as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was really good fun, and really enjoyed it.
Well, that's the most important thing. Motorsport is all about fun, and it's great to see Graham Ridgway enjoying his weekend's racing. Well, James Abbott and Stuart Mosley having a great tussle as Mosley moves the inside of Abbott into the old hairpin. James Abbott just covers the line in time, and that was optimistic driving there from Stuart Mosley, as they are busy scrapping over second in the Supersports class and 5th place in the race overall. So here comes this fight. Now what could Stuart Mosley do? Can he pick his way past James Abbott as they climb the hill towards Coppice? No, they can't, because James Abbott puts an SR3 shaped radical exactly where Stuart Mosley wanted to place his, but then Mosley gets a good exit from Coppice as they run side by side down the back straight here, and it's going to be Mosley who's got the inside run for Goddard. Surely Stuart Mosley's going to go through here, and second in class. Yes, he does. So through he goes and up into second in Supersport class for Stuart Mosley. That puts him 5th in the race overall. The class leader, Jeremy Ferguson, is a long way up the road, so the cars immediately ahead of them are all due to be going a lap down. So Jeremy Ferguson looking fairly secure at the moment in the lead of that Super Sports class battle. But what has James Abbott got in return? Also, what has Roger Green got in return to the challenge being laid down by Sean Balfe, who's driving away from him ahead of the field? But it's Ross Kaiser who took the lead at the pit stops as he flip-flops through the Goddard chicane for the final time, and it's Ross Kaiser and Terence Woodward who are on course here to win the first Dunlop Radical UK Cup race of the weekend, with Jeremy Ferguson claiming an excellent victory in the Supersports class. So the checker flag goes out and the win does go to Terence Woodward and Ross Kaiser, with Jeremy Ferguson coming home almost exactly a lap down, but it's been a superb drive from Jeremy Ferguson. Really very, very fine performance, his best of the season. Second place in the race and in the masterclass went to Roger Bromley and Sean Balfe, with third place to Phil Abbott and Roger Green. In terms of the Supersport class, that was won by Jeremy Ferguson. Second was Mark Smithson and Stuart Mosley, with James Abbott rounding out the podium. An action-packed and very lively race there from the Donington Radical UK Cup, and the drivers, I think, about to have a very well-deserved champagne fight on the podium.
Champagne fight starting in earnest.
Guys, you had an absolutely fantastic race there, and from P2 up to first. How did you do it?
Well, I think it came down to the pit stop, really. Terence drove a good first stint, hung on to Phil, kept the gap between Roger, who's our sort of main competitors in the championships. We were ahead of them, which was the main aim, really. And then we just seemed to have a good stop. Obviously, I was getting in the car, so I couldn't see when the others pitted. And then I got out, radioed to Tim, how are we looking? And he said we're in P1, whereas I thought I might have to try and fight my way past a couple. So from then on, just had to manage the traffic and stay out of trouble and try and get the fastest lap.
And am I right in saying that one of you got the fastest lap of the whole race?
Yeah, I think we just got the fastest lap by a couple of tenths, so it's another point for that. So we're trying to claw back this championship, so we couldn't have done much better points-wise.
And how about you, Terence? How was your half of the race?
It was good. I haven't had much running here, so I feel like I'm learning as I'm going along. But no, really good. Managed to hang on to Phil. Thought he was driving really well. And then I think he had a bit of a slow-in lap, because he was a little way in front of me on the circuit, but when we came in, I was right behind him. So I think he must have got held up with some traffic.
And where are you for race 2? Where are you qualified?
I'll be starting pole for the next race, so need to get a good start.
Huge congratulations, Sean. You got from qualified 4th up to 2nd, and you were 2nd out. So how did your part of the race go?
Well, my stint was fairly uneventful, to be honest. I mean, I always knew Ross was going to, take any beating. Not that I was trying, obviously. Traffic was very difficult. The SR3 class is so harshly fought, that them boys are having their own race. You've got to respect that. So I was being careful where I chose to overtake. Seemed to have Roger in P3 sort of fairly comfortable. So, we need points. We're leading the UK Championship for the Masters. So it's good points, good race. Yeah, good.
Guys, you started in pole and had an absolutely cracking start to that race. Phil, you were flying around there in your half of the race.
Yeah, that was my plan. As you interviewed me just before we started, I said that my 17-year-old son has actually led more radical race laps than I have, so I've taken a bit of a lead from him, really.
And what happened then, Roger?
Well, obviously Phil came in and in first place, handing over to me, so I assumed that when the guys told me to go, there'd be no cars in front of me, but somehow there was a whole bunch of them, so we'll have to look at that and see what quite happened there. But from then on, it was just a case of trying to catch up with Sean, who was in front of me, and just getting around the traffic. But the track got quite slippy towards the end.
Still, 3rd is pretty good. Are you happy with it overall?
Oh, it's great day, beautiful circuit, fantastic racing. Who couldn't be happy at that? Anywhere on the grid. If you have a race like that, you just got to be happy.
Almost time for the start of race 2 here at Donington Park. Roger Green, who was the combination with Phil Abbott in race 1, who did really well, actually has to start from the back of the grid because he wasn't here yesterday to qualify. Should be interesting to see whether he manages to make it up to the front.
Yeah, this promises to be an absolutely fantastic race, doesn't it, Lucia? With full field of cars setting off on the formation lap with front row of the grid. Well, it's Terence Woodward and Ross Kaiser. It's the 88 car. It's Ross Kaiser who will be taking the start. Alongside them, front row of the grid is due to be Sean Balfe. On the second row of the grid, well, glad to see that Manhal Alos is there after this morning race one, and he'll be sharing that row with very quick Rob Weldon. Plenty of very rapid drivers taking the start of this race. It really does promise to be a very exciting start as the lights and the safety car routes are about to get racing underway here. It's a rolling start as ever in the Dunlop Radical UK Cup. We'll also watch for Roger Green from the very back of the field as well. The field flip-flop through Goddard's as the field about to take the start, and pulling into the pit lane there is Sean Balfe. So Sean Balfe pulls into pit lane from second on the grid, so that means that Ross Kaiser's going to be all alone on the front row of the grid. As away we go now, and it's Kaiser and Alos who make an absolute rocket ship start, and then Rob Weldon having to go very defensive there from Jeremy Ferguson for third place in the race overall in the lead of the Supersport class. So it is Kaiser from Alos, then Weldon, and Tom Ashton exit stage left there backwards into the gravel trap at Redgate, and unfortunately he could well be beached there. And if he is, then that could just prompt the safety car period, because that car is in a fairly exposed position. The rest of the field, though, continue down through the crane of curves. Look at this superb scrap for the lead of the Supersport class, third in the race overall, as Sean Balfe has had the car checked over. He goes back into the race, but with an awful lot of work to do now. Some half a lap down on the rest of the field, who are currently making their way through McLean's and accelerating up the hill towards Coppice. Join the rumble of the Radical engines as Bradley Ellis looking to make his way past Jeremy Ferguson, not quite able to do so. So it is Kaiser leading it from Alos. Then we've got Rob Weldon, and immediately on his tail, who is that? Who's tucked in the slipstream? It's Stuart Mosley, who's right in behind Rob Weldon. Mosley looking at the inside of Weldon into Goddard. No way through there. Rob Weldon chopping the door across his face. So Mosley having to settle in to that fourth position, and he's going to be there for a few more laps. The safety car, perhaps as we expected, emerges to enable the marshals to safely recover the car of Tom Ashton. And that also gives Mosley a chance to plan his renewed attack on Rob Weldon. It also brings Alex Capardia very much into the mix as well, who is there in fifth position. So Tom Ashton being towed away. No damage to that car, of course, as the safety car is about to peel in here. The lights are out, so we're about to go racing once more. Second race of the weekend here in the Donington Radical UK Cup, and Ross Kaiser pulls the pin nice and early, but Manhal Alos, winner from Donington Park earlier in the year, is equally a match for him and goes with him on the restart. Rob Weldon also looking to make a good restart here. He's bought himself a couple of car lengths over Stuart Mosley as Kaiser turns through Redgate and then just plants his right foot as they sprint through Hollywood and then down through the crane of curves. It's one of the most satisfying sections of racing circuit for the drivers to compete on in the UK. It really is an exhilarating sequence of corners, and Ross Kaiser's used it to very good effect to try and pull away from Manhal Alos. But look at this, Stuart Mosley right on the tail of Rob Weldon. Then we've got Alex Capardia, then we've got Jeremy Ferguson with Bradley Ellis hot on his heels, and then just behind Bradley Ellis we've got a couple of others, and battling very, very close, as this is going to be Moses' opportunity surely around the outside of Rob Weldon as they climb up the hill, and Weldon's got the inside run, so looking to the outside of Stuart Mosley. Has he been able to do it? No, he's not. Brilliant defensive driving there from Rob Weldon, who immediately plants the car on the inside line as they accelerate down the back straight. He's going to make Stuart Mosley go the long way around him, which he will struggle to do, I would venture. That's exactly how it pans out. So it is still Weldon from Mosley, then Alex Capardia, the three of them engaged in battle royale for third place in the race overall, and of course the lead of the Supersports class as they head down towards Redgate. We've also got coming into the mix the 71 car of Roger Green. So Green making progress up through the field, but he's now embroiled in this absolutely stunning battle, which Rob Weldon is still leading and doing a very fine job of keeping Mosley at bay, as we do see Capardia coming under pressure from Roger Green. Alex Capardia having none of that. Capardia, one of the stars of the season at Brands Hatch in the wet races there. So I'm not sure he's going to have quite the legs in the SR3 to keep the SR8 at bay. No, he's not, so through goes Roger Green. But now the hard work really begins for Green, because Weldon and Mosley are so embroiled in battle here that it's going to be very hard to find a way through, because Stuart Mosley's been trying to pass Rob Weldon since the race started and has failed. Look at this, Rob Weldon straight to the inside run down the back straight. He's going to make Mosley look to the inside. Roger Green goes right around the outside of the pair of them, or does he? He does not, because Rob Weldon fights back and Stuart Mosley rather likes this retaking business and looks to do the same as well. So finally, Weldon concedes position as Stuart Mosley is now busy defending Alex Capadia, looking every which way as we go to Lucia in the pit lane with some news.
Well, it seems that Roger Green has done it, and having started at the very back of the grid because he didn't qualify, he's now made it up to 3rd place and is very much in contention to win. So we're going to have to see how that one pans out.
Absolutely, this is an absolutely superb race. Just to bring you up to date with the classification, it is Ross Kaiser who leads it. It's Manhals in 2nd. It's that man, Roger Green, in 3rd place. The 3 of them all in the Masters class in the SR8s. There is our race leader, Ross Kaiser, and he's still got Manhalalos keeping him very honest here. The pit lane window will be open shortly, and of course the different driver gradings. Alos is going to have a slightly shorter pit stop when the pit window opens. So Manhalalos, his pit stop is going to be 5 seconds less than that of Ross Kaiser, so he can stay within 5 seconds of Ross Kaiser, and he's got a reasonable chance, possibly, of taking the lead of the race here when Ross hands over to Terence Woodward. Right, Alex Capadia has found his way past Stuart Mosley. Jeremy Ferguson and Bradley Ellis are also in that scrap as well. There go the pair of them. So Rob Weldon has got momentary breathing space as Capadia and Mosley continue their battle. Then there's a slight gap back to Ferguson and Ellis. And this is the sort of race we've come to expect throughout the season from the SR3s and the Supersport class. Really closely fought stuff. And it has given what is actually quite a big crowd here at Donington today some super entertainment as they turn through McLean's, accelerate up the hill towards Coppice. Not really an overtaking opportunity at Coppice. It's more to set the cars up for the run down this back straight and then possibly look to make the challenge on to break into Goddard's as they come into the braking zone this time. I don't think Stuart Mosley close enough to challenge Alex Capadia. The same goes for the next 2 cars through as we've got a spin lower down the order. That is a spin there, unfortunately, for John Lord. So John Lord goes around in the 53 car. Now let's hope he's kept the engine fired up, because again that car has come to a halt in a slightly exposed position. Yes, there it is. And are we going to see another safety car here? I think we might, because the safety car board has gone out. And this is crucial here because we are moments away from the opening of the pit stop window, and this is going to bring all the gaps established in the race thus far down to absolutely nothing. So this is going to be very, very lively here. Yes, the drivers readying themselves in the pit lane. There is Tony Wells ready to take over from James Littlejohn. So the pit window is open. The car's coming through to complete lap behind the safety car. I would presume that they will all peel in here. Let's see if they do. It's going to be Ross Kaiser who heads up the queue. And yes, he peels off to his left into the pit lane. So the pit lane is now going to get very, very busy. And we were talking about those driver gradings earlier on. This is going to be key because those drivers with the shorter pit stops will get their pit stop done sooner and will be out sooner. Right, so here's the race leader, Ross Kaiser. He comes in. It's Terence Woodward waiting to take over from him. So out of the car, it's Ross Kaiser. Mark Smithson being strapped in by Stuart Mosley. There is Manhalos ahead of the queue, and Alos has got a 5-second shorter pit stop than that of Terence Woodward. Ross Kaiser, that could be crucial as James Littlejohn pulls into the pit lane. All the action happening in the pits here as his eyes to the stopwatches. This is key, and it's Alos who goes first. So it's Manhalos who emerges from the pits in the lead of the race. So it's Alos who leads it, and Terence Woodward only now getting the thumbs up from the team. So he is going to rejoin a little bit lower down the order. It's also brought up into 2nd place, Phil Abbott having taken over from Roger Green. So Roger Green, he drove up through the field, and then with those gaps coming down to nothing with the safety car, has been able to feed Phil Abbott out into the race in 2nd place here. So it is Manhals who leads it. It's Phil Abbott in 2nd, and then Terence Woodward in 3rd as the drivers taking to the circuit, just feeling out where the heat in those tyres are, because of course they've cooled down with that period behind the safety car. But Manhalalos, no driver change for him. He knows exactly how that car is performing, and look at the lead that he has already been able to build up following on from that pit stop. So Alos looking to claim his 2nd race victory of the season. He won at Alton Park back in May. He's looking for his 2nd victory of the year here. That's Roger Bromley. He's almost a lap down due to the trials and tribulations of Sean Balfe a little bit earlier on, and then we've got Terence Woodward coming through now. Woodward, of course, who won the first race of the weekend with Ross Kaiser, as the assembled masses of the SR3s continue their battle.
Having qualified 4th and having had such a disappointing first race, not even being able to start, Manhal Alos, after the driver changeover, is now in the lead with Terence Woodward and Ross Kaiser's car number 88 following as 2nd. You qualified on pole and had a fantastic first half of the race. Talk to me.
Had a pretty decent first stint. Obviously, we had 2 safety cars, which made it tricky. The way the grading works with the drivers, Terence and I class as an A grading and a B, so we have to stop 5 seconds longer than, say, a B and a B or a B and a C. So I needed to get the gap really, so that on the pit stop we could then have half a chance. And obviously, the first safety car made it tough, managed to eke out a little bit of a gap, but then the second safety car, just before the pit lane window opening, meant that we pitted together, so Manhal jumped us in the pit lane, so it's making it a tough stint for Terence.
Rob, you seem a bit disappointed with that first half.
Well, no, the first stint went really well in terms of pace. We had the pace, managed to get a gap. We led from our class, so that was really good. But unfortunately, the safety car went and took away all our lead that we had. We had like a 3-4 second gap, pitted under the safety car, and now because of the way the pit stops work, we slipped back to 5th. So David's got a bit of hard work to do, I think.
Roger, what a fantastic result for that first half of the race. You started right at the back of the grid.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Just decided to go for it, really, basically. Every time there was a gap, I put the car in there, and it seemed to work out, because I think I come around the end of the first lap in 9th place. Then we had a safety car, which kind of bunched everybody back up again. So when we went green again, I was able to pick a few more off. So, yeah, it was tremendously exciting. And I just wanted to get to the front as quickly as I could to get behind the other 2 SR8s that are at the front there, and then just at least maintain the gap, maybe chip into it a little bit as much as we can before the pit stop. So yeah, it worked out well. The car was absolutely brilliant.
Alex, you had a really great first half of that race, didn't you? Making it from 5th up to 2nd.
Yeah, we had a bit of a nightmare in qualifying yesterday. Only managed to get 5th on the grid, but then had a good start and managed to get past 3 people, get up to the back of Rob. Then the safety car came out just before the pit window, so we pitted under the safety car. Unfortunately, we had a problem with the belt buckle when we were changing drivers, and we lost 40 seconds in the pit stop, so now we've gone down to about 10th, I think. But Pete's doing well out there, he's catching up, he's driving really well today, so hopefully we'll make up some places now, but I don't think we're going to make back for the whole 40 seconds.
A lot of ground to make up as we have got the race leader Manhal Alos continuing to lead this race very impressively. Alos's pit crew headed up by Michael Burgess, the vastly experienced Dutch racing driver, as we go back to the battle for Supersport honours, and this is the battle for Supersport class lead. It's James Abbott from Jeremy Ferguson. Jeremy Ferguson looking to do the double here at Donington this weekend, but James Abbott has also already won 2 races this weekend, but Ferguson's got a good run out of Coppice and down towards Goddard's. Now is he going to make the move up the inside here onto the braking zone? Yes, he does. James Abbott, fair play to James, he gives him racing room, and Jeremy Ferguson goes through. He takes the lead of the class, and that's 4th place in the race overall in his favour as well. Now can he begin to build out that advantage over James Abbott? It's Nathan Lindop who's next up in class, so Nathan Lindop putting a very strong performance with Mark Smithson just behind him, so the Supersport class the leading 4 cars there running line astern. Replay a little bit lower down the order, Andrew Ferguson having a slightly grassy moment at the old hairpin as Nathan Lindop and Mark Smithson continue their tussle. That's Mark Smithson there in the black and blue number 7 car chasing down Nathan Lindop. A slight spin for David Thornburn, nicely gathered up there by David. Now let's find a gear and get back into the race. He's not lost any places, but he has now lost one of them, so slight disappointment there for David Thornburn from that spin as Manhal Alos moves into the closing stage of the race and has really put in an emphatic performance in Donington Park in the second race of the weekend. After a disappointment race one, he's more than making amends for it this time around, and Alos has looked absolutely imperious in the second half of the race, so he turns through the old hairpin and accelerates on towards Schwantz Curve. Continues to build his advantage as the fight for Supersport honours, well, it's as close as you like still. Jeremy Ferguson has got James Abbott as his ever-present shadow right in his tail. The pair of them separated by less than a second still as they plunge down through Hollywood and then into the Craner curves. This is the final lap of the race, so James Abbott rapidly running out of opportunities to pick his way past Jeremy Ferguson. I'm just not sure he's quite close enough with only a handful of corners remaining, so Abbott still pressuring for the Supersport class honours as coming through to claim the victory is Manhal. It's been a great drive for Manhal and a very well-deserved and popular victory in the paddock. So the checker flag goes out now, and it's Manhal who wins the second race of the weekend in the Dunlop Radical UK Cup here at Donington Park. Into second place, it's going to be Phil Abbott and Roger Green, and third place going the way of Terence Woodward and Ross Kaiser. That's the top three in the race overall, top three in the Masters class, with Jeremy Ferguson winning Supersports from James Abbott and Nathan Lindop as the drivers celebrate on the podium with the champagne. I think Manhouse is about to get a champagne bath here as Ross Kaiser kindly feeds him a drink, smiles all around.
And you were in fourth on the grid, so talk to us about how you managed to make it up to first.
Okay, yeah, I was in P4, but somehow started in P3 because Roger Green and Phil Abbott started actually from the back because Roger didn't register a lap yesterday. And so yeah, I was behind Roger Sean Balfe and Ross Kaiser. Sean retired or came into the pits, and then I kept a safe distance, or a steady distance I should say, between myself and Ross. And then when the pits came in, I've got a 10-second advantage on them, so I overtook them in the pits and kept it going.
Brilliant. And where does that take you in terms of the championship standing?
Well, because of the first race scoring no points, I think I'll be lucky at the end of the year to finish second. I'm currently third, I'd imagine.
Maybe it give you even more determination to get there.
Oh, I'll definitely go for it at Snetterton.
Guys, you started at the back of the grid and managed to make it all the way up to third place. Really amazing result. How did you do it?
Well, it's a bit of a role reversal for this race. Roger did all the hard work this time from the back of the grid, as you said. He got up to third place, and all I had to do was maintain it, which was probably at my age all I could manage. But we've got our successful crew here that have prepared a brilliant car. There's Pinky and Mickey, and we're all having a great time.
And you've got your crew around you, guys. How was it for you? You know, were you really nervous, thinking they're not going to make it all the way up to the front?
With great drivers, you know you're going to get a good result. So yeah.
I'll pay you later.
And Roger, how about your part of the race? You obviously did quite a bulk of the work at the start.
Yeah, it was quite exciting, those first few laps, and I knew it was going to be. It's one of those ones where, you know, if you see a gap and you think you can make it, and without it closing, then you go for it, and it was a bit like that, and it kind of opened up for me in a couple of corners, so it just worked out perfectly.
Guys, another great result back on the podium. How did the race go for you?
It was hard work. They always are, you know, they're quite intense experiences driving a Radical, but no, really good. Ross did a fantastic stint as usual. I think we're a bit down on horsepower, looking at some of the speeds and the times, but Ross brought it in the lead. But then I think with the difference in the pit stops, Manhal got a good sort of lead after the pit stops, and that made it hard work after that.
Yeah, and that really was the changeover there, wasn't it?
Yeah, that really decided the race, I think. Obviously, I needed to get as much of a gap as I could. And like Terence said, we don't seem to quite have the pace we've had when we've come testing here, so we're struggling a little bit. And then obviously we're getting the safety car and pitting right together. That made it really tough for Terence's stint.
Timothy, you've had a very busy weekend racing in both the Clubman's and the UK Cup. How's it gone for you?
Well, the weekend went well yesterday, actually. In the Clubman's, I qualified 4th and 6th for the two races, which is a big step forward for me, so I'm quite pleased about that. Didn't perform quite so well in the races. Tried to overtake somebody on the outside of Redgate at one point and ran out of road, so that slowed me down a little bit. Redgate seems to be in my bête noire this weekend. But otherwise, good. And today, slightly disappointed because we had an engine problem. We missed the second race.
But you do have a very good-looking car, and I can't help but notice at the back there on the spoiler, take your own path. What does that mean?
Well, a lot of people ask me that. In fact, people wonder if I'm a particularly religious person. It's not actually the reason. Take Your Own Path is a campaign that Dell have arranged or organised. It's a sort of global campaign. And it's really about Dell's work with small, fast-growing companies where they provide a lot of technical support. And actually, Dell is a technical partner of my business, Pensions First. And we've done a lot of work with them the last few years where they've helped us really to understand our technology needs and to grow the business. And they've featured Pensions First in the Take Your Own Path campaign because they want to make the point they're a very big company, but they work with small companies and help them to grow. So they've been great partners of ours, and I'm really happy to carry their name on the car and really to show the sort of spirit of partnership between us. Yeah. Dell are supporters of me and the business, and my business, but also, of course, you'll have seen that they've just come back into motor racing with Lotus. So, I mean, they obviously like green cars, so if they want to put their name permanently on another green car, I've got one right here.
Brilliant. Okay, and are you going to finish the season this year and possibly next year? Are you going to do more racing with Radical?
Absolutely. I mean, this has been a fantastic season. First time racing for 28 years. Taken a while to find the pace, but it's coming back now. It's very addictive. Love the cars. They're absolutely superb. The factory are now trying to persuade me to buy an SR8, so it's a debate between a new SR3 or an SR8 for next season.
What do you think you'll go for?
Oh gosh, I can resist anything in life except temptation, so it'll probably be an 8.
Well, that wraps up this weekend's racing for the Dunlop Radical UK Cup here at Donington Park. We hope that you've enjoyed watching, and we do hope that you'll be able to join us next time at Snetterton in October for the finale of this series. We'll see you there.